verses 1 through 7. We're not going to be before you long. The Gospel according to St. John chapter 9, verses 1 through 7. Amen. For the sake of time, we'll begin. As he passed by, he saw a man blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, it was not that this man sinned or his parents, but that the works of God might be displayed in him. Your Bible might say, might be made manifest in him. I must work the works of him who sent me while it is day, for the night cometh when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Somebody say, turn on the lights. Having said these things, he spat on the ground and made mud with saliva. Then he anointed the man's eyes with the mud and said to him, go wash in the pool of Siloam. So he went and washed and came back seeing. I just want to touch on verse 1 again. He says, as he passed by, he saw a man blind from birth. I just want to talk about tonight, he made it happen. My word for the Yes Conference tonight. He made it happen. What's happening is a popular phrase that the young people like to throw around. If you go to certain cliques, young people say, what's going on with you? Or if you go up east a little bit, they say, what's popping off with you? For my older saints that are in the church, you might remember back to the year 1971 when Marlon Gaye said, what's going on? He had ended up asking the question because he ended up growing up in a nation where he saw civil unrest and civil rights struggles and ancestors getting water holes and cattle prods and bricks thrown at them just for wanting to go to school and just for wanting to vote. So he ended up asking the question, what is going on? You know, there's three types of people in the world. There are people that make things happen. There are people that watch things happen. Oh, and I'm going to come to your doorstep. There are some people that sit around wondering what happened. So in this text tonight, we're going to examine why it happened, how it happened, when it happened, and who it's happening to. See, there were three characters in the text tonight. You had Jesus, who was the problem solver. And I could park right there, because sometimes Jesus is all that you need. How many of you sometimes just need a little bit of Jesus in your life today, just to sprinkle and brighten up your day right now? When you're riding on the interstate and the truck turns over and your car swerved by and was unharmed, you need a little Jesus in your life. Some of you had an accident, nearly had an accident coming on the way here. You need a little Jesus in your life right now. Some of you were... That's right. Some of you were just a little close to cussing somebody out, and you need a little Jesus in your life. Some of you forgot you were saved for about 5 minutes to give somebody a piece of your mind, but it was Jesus that gave you peace of mind, and so you need a little Jesus in your life. Jesus is the problem solver. But then you got the man who was blind from birth. The man who was blind from birth represents the problem. Have you ever seen somebody that's been in a situation so long, somebody begins to think that that's their natural state? Have you ever been in debt so long that you figured being broke was your mission in life? Have you ever been in dead-end relationships that seemed to go nowhere in life, that you felt that all you were was damaged goods? But I serve a God that says, my grace is sufficient for you. All you got to do is hold on just a little while longer. Everything is going to be all right. High five your neighbor and just say, I'm holding on. See, in your situation, I could go ahead and preach verse number 1 and just be out your way. Verse number 1 sets it up perfectly. It says, as Jesus was passing by. See, sometimes in your life, all Jesus has to do is just pass by. I'm reminded of the old song, and saints help me out. Pass me not, O gentle Savior, hear my humble cry. While on others thou art calling, Lord, whatever you're doing in this season, do not pass me by. Oh, we've been there before, huh? But he didn't stop there. Notice Jesus' actions followed his words. May I ask the question, why is there so much lip service in the modern church today? You got people that can praise, but got people that got no power. You got devotion but no deliverance. And you got hymns but there's no healing. But I serve a God that said I can do exceedingly abundantly above all that you can ask or even think. If you know that God just gave you a little more just to make it this week, you ought to stand to your feet and just give him a hand clap of praise. He made it happen. So the first thing that he shows me making it happen is, number one, there was the scene. You've been in your situation for a long time, so you start to begin to think that that's your natural path in life. As we look over the last few chapters of John, leading up to chapter number 9, there were several scenes where Jesus was making things happen. In John chapter 1, where there was nothing, what did Jesus say? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. But then in John chapter 2, he didn't stop there. He went to a wedding, y'all. He went to a wedding at Cana, and turned the water into wine, up to the point that Jesus' own mother had to say, look, I'm the one that birthed him, but whatever he tells you to do, you ought to do it. And then in John chapter 3, you got Nick at night, Nicodemus, who's too ashamed of his public image, so he comes to Jesus at night and he ends up asking, how can a man be born again when he is old? But Jesus says to him, marvel not that I said unto you that you got to be born again. Flesh and blood cannot enter the kingdom of heaven, but your spirit has to enter the kingdom of heaven. But then in John chapter 4, we got an interesting predicament, y'all. We got the woman who not only had one husband, 2 husbands, 3 husbands, 4 husbands, she was shopping for husbands, y'all. 5 husbands. And then the one that she's living with right now is not hers. So Jesus ends up meeting her at the well, and he tells not only some of her business, not only partial of her business, but he ends up telling her all of her business. But Jesus gives her a solution because he's the problem solver. He says, if you drink of me, you'll never thirst again. I am the living water. But then in John chapter 5, when you look at Jesus, Jesus had another situation. Jesus had the man that had been paralyzed for 38 years. And the man that is paralyzed for 38 years has all of these excuses. Have you ever run into people that knew they could be healed, but they had every excuse in the book to keep them from progressing? So this man had excuses. He said, Lord, I have no man to put me in the pool. But Jesus says to him, he says, take up your bed and walk. The bed that has been carrying you, you now are in charge of carrying it. Get up and be made whole and go in peace. So now we're in John chapter 9. Jesus ends up passing by, and he sees the predicament of this man. He says, the predicament is so great, I cannot just pass by. I got to do something about the situation. May I say to you in your life today that if you don't handle it, it will handle you. If you don't handle that person will handle you. If you don't handle that relationship will handle you. If you don't handle those past due notices and those eviction notices, they will handle you. So now he doesn't show me the scene, but he shows me the side effects. Come on. In John chapter 9, verse number 2, the disciples end up asking a question. They say, Lord, who is it that sinned? Was it this man or was it his parents? Something had to have happened along the line in order for him to be caught in this situation and in this quandary that he's in. Have you ever seen people look at your family? Your family just can never get together. Yet the family reunion, y'all fighting over pieces of chicken and fighting over collard greens. I'm getting hungry. And fighting over yellow rice. And so people end up labeling your family as having a generational curse. But what is it that Jesus said? By grace are ye saved through faith, in that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man. Oh, y'all read the Bible. You know the situation's bad when people start inquiring about your mess. Have you ever noticed that when something happens to you, it doesn't take long before it's right down the street at Miss Eula Maiden house? Have you ever noticed that sometimes when you come to the church house and all you want to do is worship, there's that pull of God that says, no, I can't have you worshiping on the back pew. You got to come up and you got to show people a testament of my goodness. We're seeing the side effects. But then the third thing that it shows me, and I'm going home. I'm going back home to Orlando. The third thing that it shows me is he's got the solution. Notice what he says. Y'all go ahead and crank it up. He says in verses 6 through 7, Jesus goes ahead and spits in the mud, and then he makes the mud and puts it on the man's eyes, and he says, go, you have now your sight. You are now able to walk. Your handicap is no more. So Jesus took everything that was in his hand and began to use it for your good. How many of you can say that Jesus put you in his hand and he's continuing to use you for his good? What's in your hand? When you look at Moses in the Old Testament, Moses took a serpent when he went to Pharaoh to say, let my people go. But then Moses took the serpent and made a mighty rod. What's in your hand? Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and in Joshua chapter 6, as you see, they're walking around the city, and his men try to rejoice a little too quickly. And Joshua says to them, you can't rejoice yet, for the Lord has not given you the city. But as they march around 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, the 7th time the city begins to fall. So now Joshua says, you can go ahead and shout, for the Lord has given you the city. What's in your hand? There was a little shepherd boy named David. David took 5 school stones and took down an empire. What's in your hand? And the beauty of it was that Goliath was so big that no matter where David hit him, he couldn't miss. George Washington Carver, 1896, takes 1 peanut and makes 250 products. What's in your hand? There was a little blind boy named Stephen Morris one time. Society had thrown him away. Society had told him he couldn't be anything. Society had told him he would never amount to anything other than being a cripple. But his mama put a piano right in front of him. And so now that young man named Stephen Morris today is known as Stevie Wonder. There's been a ribbon in the sky ever since. What's in your hand? What little boy who was hungry from Minneapolis, Minnesota, but he had a gift. How many of you know that your gift will make room for you? And so since he had a gift, he could play 48 instruments. And so this little young man named Prince Rogers Nelson ends up crashing on the couch of a friend. And so today, we gonna Princess Diamonds and Pearls when doves cry. We gonna party like it's 1999. What's in your hand today? What's in your hand? When God has put something in your hand, you take what's in your hand and you make something marvelous out of it. What is it that David said? David said, I will bless the Lord at all times, and his praises shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make a boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. I sought the Lord and he heard me and delivered me from all my fears. Am I talking to anybody that's been delivered in the house today? Am I talking to anybody delivered on this side? Anybody delivered on that side? Have you noticed that every solution that you need is already within you? You go and paying all this money to psychics. You going over and paying all this and talking and paying attention to your friends that ain't got no man. But they trying to give you all the remedies on how to get through a situation. But my God is somebody that says all the king's horses and all the king's men understand it was only God that could put you back together again. Thank you.